Welcome to Connectronix, I'm Steve, and as you can see, I'm wearing my Focal hoodie. So you're probably thinking that it must be a Focal day, and you're right. As many of you know, a couple weeks back at Expona 2023, Focal announced and released their all-new Theva line. And at the show, they did a demo of a full Dolby Atmos system using all Theva speakers, and it was incredible. In fact, a lot of people said it was the highlight of the show, and I agree. I loved it. In fact, I loved it so much that I got the all-new Theva No1s. And yes, even though it's TH, it's pronounced Theva, not Theva. At least that's what the guys at Focal told me. It must be French. And for me, it's easy to remember because I just think of my name. Steve, not Steve. Anyway, on top of that, we got the matching Theva stands. So today we are going to unbox these, get them built and set up, and see what they're all about. So stick around. Welcome back, and as I said, this is the all-new Focal Theva No1s, and we have these in the dark wood, and these are the new speaker line that is replacing the Choras. Let's see what these are all about. And as I did in the other video, you don't need a knife to cut these open. They staple the boxes. Sometimes the staples get in the way. Alrighty. Look at that. Okay, so they're all upside down. Let's just get this going right away. Grills. I'm going to assume these are packed very much like the Vestias were. Look at that. Let's set this right here. Can't do much of an unveiling when the bag is clear, right? Okay, let's get this other one. But one of the things that they changed on this line, and I'll go over all the changes, but one of the obvious ones that you can see right away is that these have a smaller footprint about them. So as you can see now, with the difference between what the Theva is compared to the Chora had the port on the front, just like the Vestia. The Vestia was able to shrink that package and still maintain a port on the front, whereas now the Theva is able to put that port on the back and saving all of that real estate on the front. And if I compare these side by side to the Vestia, you can see it's like literally the exact same size. I can see that they're, yeah, the dimensions got to be almost identical. So the fact that they're able to shrink this line down compared to the Choras, you can see how much bigger that is, and get that technology into a smaller package. That was one of the things I liked about the Vestias, is you're improving sound using better materials, if it's the drivers, crossovers, the enclosure itself, but also making it smaller. So that's kind of neat. And one of the things that they talked about with the Theva line over the Chora is the grill. And I don't have the grill for the Chora readily available. I actually have them in the box. But one of the things they talked about is how people didn't like the grill design on the Choras because the grill just covered the driver and the rest was open. Whereas the Vestia grill, I'll show here, this is the Vestia, that the grill covers the entire face. This grill, they say, is like a 3/4. So it doesn't cover the entire speaker, but just most of it. So you can see that there. And then they kept that logo visible. And then have a nice clean squared off grill, whereas the other one on the Chora was just a round. So that is kind of a nicer look. I agree with a lot of people where you just do the round one, it doesn't look as good as that. Or even in this case, I still kind of think I like the look of the Vestia a little bit better. I mean, this kind of gives you a little bit of a lip to see, which is kind of neat. I don't know. I'll have to give it some time and see if it grows on me, which one I like better or not. But that is one of the upgrades, or let's say changes. To upgrade if you like it or not. But one of the changes they made with the Theva compared to the Chora. And these are pretty light speakers. They don't seem too heavy. The other thing that they talked about with the changes, and I guess I'll go over the quick changes before we get into building the other stands, is the tweeter itself. So they said that this tweeter design was taken from the Aria line. So the lineup from the low end to the higher end, it was Chora, Vestia, and Aria. And so when the Chora was around, it had its own tweeter design. You can see this larger waveguide is pretty big. What they did is they took the same tweeter and everything from the Aria line. And for example, that Aria pair is $2,200, and to take a tweeter out of a $2,200 speaker and implement that into their entry level is a pretty crazy improvement, to say the least. So the other thing is the driver, they said, is slightly improved over the slate driver that's in the Chora, and probably, you know, some crossover upgrades as well, or changes to be able to adapt the Aria tweeter with that driver, because the Aria's got the flax cone and this is a slate driver. But you can see this waveguide is a smaller or different design than what is on the Chora. And that's pretty big round one, where this is an oval. So that is one of the differences. The other thing they changed is the actual enclosure itself and how the vinyl wrap on it. Yes, it's a vinyl wrap, not a real wood, but people had issues. I don't have any issues with these, but people have had issues with the laminate peeling up in some situations. So they made this a better type of vinyl wrap, and also the front almost looks like it's separate from the rest of the enclosure. So maybe I can get a close-up of that, but it looks like the front is a separate piece put on, because they said that's kind of where they're having peeling issues. I think these are great. I have no issues with these whatsoever. I could see maybe if you have some humid environments or something like that where maybe it could expand and contract and have a problem, but that's not an issue here. I am noticing also that the tweeter, this is like a soft material, like a soft rubber, whereas this is just going to be a hard material around that tweeter. So that probably has something to do with some kind of damping or helping with the refraction. But this tweeter is a nice looking tweeter. Now, it's not as good as what is on the Vestia with their new M tweeter. So it's kind of strange how the Aria, being a higher end speaker, had that tweeter, and then the Vestia comes along and has a tweeter that's better than the Aria. So then they're like, uh-oh, this tweeter's better. So then they took the better tweeter from the Aria and they moved it down to the Theva. So now you have a good tweeter in that. So that's kind of neat that they're able to do, and it's literal, a trickle-down technology. So they have higher-end technology that works its way into the lower-end line. So that's kind of neat. One of the other things they talked about is the improved crossover on these. And this is the wrong... I wonder if that grill would work on there. No, it doesn't. See, that's the thing. Sometimes you look around. I mean, it kind of... like, you can try it, but... that's a Vestia grill here. It's kind of funny. But you see the logo on there. That doesn't work. So, something to try, I guess. But one of the things I did notice is that how they took the overall design of how this woofer is with this, I guess they call that like a beauty ring around the actual slate driver, how that is very much the same as what is on the Vestia. So that was one of the things I noticed right away, as to me it's an improvement. So I'll just stand this right next to it, where you can see this is just the same matching color. It doesn't highlight the driver, whereas this has the nice beauty ring around it, which makes it look nice. And that was one of the things I saw right away that made it, to me, stand out as an improvement. So that's it on these speakers and the unboxing, I guess the overview of the speakers themselves. One of the things I will say, talking about pricing, at least here in the US, I know some people, from other countries. I only know US, I live in US, that's all I know. But these Theva No1s retail for $9.98 a pair. I'm just going to say it's $1,000 a pair. So $1,000 for a pair. The stands are now $249 a pair, whereas the Vestias are $11.98 a pair, so $1,200 a pair, and the same on the stands. And the Choras at the time were $1,000 a pair, and they dropped the price down right before they were discontinued. And I think they were like dropped down to like $750 or $800 a pair, something like that. So that's kind of how the lineup is. So to me, and at least this is just the bookshelves we're talking about here, because I guess you could relate some of that with the towers and the rest of the line. But the bookshelves for the Theva are $1,000 a pair, and for $200 more, you get into the Vestia, which has a better enclosure with the better M tweeter, and I'd assume better crossover to make that work. And it also has the leatherette, or whatever you would call this material, on the top and the front, which is, to me, a lot nicer. So it's like a $200 difference to go from the Theva to the Vestia. So that gap to me doesn't seem very big, but it is what it is. So maybe going into the towers like the 826s, from the Choras, and then switching to the Theva No.3s, which are the bigger towers, maybe their differences there are going from the Vestia No.3 and the Theva No.3, those price differences will be bigger, but at the low price points of the bookshelves, it's not much of a difference. So maybe that's a long-winded way of saying it, but that's kind of the way I look at it with a lot of this stuff. And for me, I enjoy the bookshelves to be able to see the technology, see the design, and instead of having big towers everywhere, I can have a smaller bookshelf next to each other, and then you can still show all of the different improvements they make from one line to another, instead of just having a tower of one and a bookshelf of another, and then it's kind of hard to relate them all together. So it's always nice to have the same type of speaker throughout to be able to see exactly what you're getting as you go up through the lines. So I think that's it for this. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to clean this area up, and then we're going to do the boxing for the stands. Oh, I forgot the other part of the unboxing. So inside the other box, obviously we have a manual, and the Focal manuals have been pretty consistent throughout the years, basically showing you how you're supposed to set your speakers up in an equilateral triangle. Although the Thevas, they do talk about how the speakers are angled back, and that was one of the things I talked about in the previous video regarding how the Chora stand works and the Vestia stand. And then also it gives you a book here. It just says regards Focal at a glance, and it kind of shows some of the history and innovations and things like that. So it's just kind of a nice little book. Maybe you set your speakers up, and while you're listening to them, you have a little light reading, because it is pretty light. And then on top of that, in this envelope, little tiny rubber bumpers. They even put a little picture of it. So if you wanted to set them on a bookshelf, or what, they are bookshelf speakers, so you set them on a bookshelf or on a stand, you can use these on there. So unlike the actual speakers where you can just pull a box open because of the staples, the stands are actually taped up. And you'll notice these stands say, and I have a little bit to talk about that, but these stands say Theva and Vestia on it. So if you look at the speaker stands, and I didn't open these yet, but there's no Focal logo down here. So this is the stands for the Theva and the Vestia. Whereas when I did the Vestia speaker setup, I used a set of Chora stands. So I didn't have a set of Theva stands. So I cheated. I used the second set of Chora stands that I had. So I took the Chora stands and put it on the Vestia without actually having the Vestia stands. So the difference that I noticed, and I looked online and I tried to I researched the stuff like you guys do. The only difference I saw was this little Focal logo down here, whereas this doesn't have it, right? So why would they take that off the stand? Well, what I'm noticing right away is with the Vestia, so with the Vestia, when you put the grill on, you have your Focal logo here, right? So you don't need it on the stand. That's probably their thinking. And then I noticed with the Theva now, it's a 3/4 grill, so the Focal logo is here on the speaker. So they don't want you to, have to double up the logo on the stand. I like the logo on the stand. I think it's kind of cool. But that's what they took off on the new ones. And I don't understand it. But the other thing I noticed with the stands is that with the Chora stands, they were $289 a pair, and now the Theva Vestia stands are $249 a pair. So you drop like $40 because you take the logo off the front? I don't know. I'd imagine through manufacturing and then the fact they said, hey, we're not going to redesign it, let's just keep making more, they're able to keep the price down or knock it down even more, even better. I guess that's the case. But we'll find out when we crack these open. Like I said, these are brand new. I haven't dealt with these yet. But that's just my train of thought when I'm dealing with this stuff, trying to see what's going on with the speakers in the lineup. I talk too much sometimes. Let's get these cracked open. Yep, just like the other stands. So it says right here, Theva Vestia stand, and I'm going to pull this out because this is what's got me curious. Okay, I'm noticing these are a little different because these are rounded. So you see that? It's got a rounded edge to it here, and oh no, that's the same. It's the same. It's rounded as well. Okay, I guess it is the same. So this would be that bottom front. So you can see no logo on that. So I suppose if you want the Focal logo on your stands, you got to pay an extra $40 to get it. Maybe not worth it, but I don't care. I think it looks cool like that. I don't think it's worth changing, but that's just how it is. So let's keep this going here because I'm going to have to put these together. And I should be able to do that pretty quickly. These stands do go together like easy peasy. I do like that about these. What do we have here? Here's all the screws and spikes. And you can see the spikes with little discs, and then they give you rubber feet for the bottom of the stands as well, which is nice. Some of the other stands don't give you rubber feet on the bottom, so if you do have a hard floor or something, it's like, what am I supposed to use? I don't have the ability to be able to just, take my spike off and just put something under it. So they're nice to say, hey, we're going to give you some rubber bumpers to put on there instead. But we have carpet here, so I'm going to be putting the spikes on. Got to get the dewalt out. And of course you got to do this, otherwise it doesn't work. I don't need to crank it and strip anything out. Alright. So that's it on that. Alright, let's just put the spikes in right away. I'm going to make this quick. I think if you watch the Vestia video where I built the stands, it's literally the same thing. They look a little bit different, but overall it's the same, so no point in going through it all again. I'm just going to build the one really quick and then go from there and then we'll just do a fast forward kind of setup where you can see what the whole thing is like. Come on. Okay. Got a bad spike. Yeah, the thread's messed up. Not cool. Let me just see if I can get this one done with another spike instead. See? Bad spike. Oh, thread's bad. Come on. Okay. So that part's done. I'm going to leave it up here on the table so we can see what's going on. What's going on? And take the top plate here. And it's almost like I've done this before. Almost. Not quite, right? It's almost like I've done it before. You can see those longer screws are for that. Okay, that stand's done. There we go. And to me, I like that Focal logo being there. It doesn't have it on there, but that's fine. It is what it is. We'll see how it is when we're done. So I'm just going to build the next one, and we'll go from there. Okay, I got those built. I got them all snugged up, and I was missing the little the nuts that go on the spikes, but I did get that one on there. It is a little messed up, but I had to work with it. So got this foam here from the speaker stand box, so I'll flip these upside down on that, making it easy to put these in. Okay, that one's all set. Set that right next to the Chora. There you go. Sit next to your brother. Okay. Okay, there we go. So how's that? We got the little Focal family of speakers. Now you can see how they actually compare to one another. This is a perfect visual for it. So with the Vestia coming out before the Theva, you can see some of those changes I told you from the Chora to the Vestia, the beauty ring, this different oval around the tweeter, obviously having an M-shaped different tweeter on that. Same front port design. Then they took that, did the Theva, they moved that port around to the back. They added a logo in its place, took it off of the stand from down below. But now you can see how I was saying that this is the old stands, these are the new ones, and they really didn't change much. I'll have to see if I get a shot of it up close. It looks like the actual material is different. Like the other style, the older Chora stands has a little bit of a brushed look to it, whereas the new ones are just kind of flat and black. So yes, I'm noticing that now, looking at it here, the old stand, now it kind of looks like it makes a difference with that, like I said, $40 difference. It's not just the logo, it's the entire material that they make it out of. And the upright's the same. It kind of seems like it's just the plinth down at the bottom that's different. But also, it looks exactly the same. That ring around both speakers, it says the same thing. It's the same kind of color. So that looks identical. The tweeters are different. I am noticing that this still has the aluminum magnesium tweeter, but the design is slightly different on this one. Probably mostly that waveguide, and obviously that's the M-shaped tweeter on there. All the slate drivers look the same. The dust cap on the front looks the same across. I'm sure they probably changed something with the motor structure to make it a little improved. But that's the big difference there that I'm seeing right away. But one thing that I will say is that when I did the comparison video between the Chora and the Vestia, it wasn't quite a fair fight because the Vestias were fresh out of the box. The Choras have been broken in. And now, since then, as of today, the Vestias are broken in. I have listened to those, I don't want to say a lot, but enough where I know that they are broken in. I've had other people come in and listen to them. They do have quite a few hours on them now. Sometimes I'll let them play when I'm doing things around here. And the Choras have been in the other room being played periodically. So these are still broken in. These are now broken in. So what I will do to make a fair fight, and this is like, I'm excited about this to be honest. I'm going to break these in. I'm going to run the Thevas pretty good to try to get these broken in and get some hours on them. And then I'm going to come back and we're going to do a three-way shootout between the old Chora, the new Theva, and the new Vestia. And I'm kind of intrigued to see what's going to happen because even on the last video, they were close. The Vestia was close to the Chora, but the Vestia was not broken in. And now you're going to take the better tweeter out of the Aria and put it into the Theva. And then you got the M tweeter on the Vestia. Same kind of cones. And now you're changing the design, whereas we had front port Chora, front port Vestia. Now we're going from front port Vestia to a rear port Theva. So that too is going to be different. So I don't know. It's pretty neat. So you know the stands size and all that, the layout, the angle, all that's the same. I already showed you this is the exact same size enclosure as that. The only thing is the port moved. So really, I would assume that the driver's got to be, the slate driver's got to be almost identical. I don't know, maybe the motor's different. I know Focal always does individual actual woofers. They don't, pick and choose and make them the same throughout the line. They design them for each speaker. So it might be different, but we know for a fact the tweeter's different. And then when you have different tweeters, they have to modify the crossover slightly. So my assumption at this point is going to be that this, the Theva compared to the Vestia is going to be mostly coming down to that tweeter difference and moving that port to the back. Everything else is almost exactly the same. So the Chora, I could see why the Chora is going to be discontinued because they did the trickle-down technology to the Theva. They made it in a smaller form factor. They improved the look with the enclosure, improved the grille. So it kind of makes sense that they did go away with the Chora. Like I said, there's a few left as of now that, I just sold a pair to a guy that bought the towers because he wanted to get the deal on the Choras. The Choras are great speakers. You heard them. They're great speakers. So if you can get the Chora at a deal, go ahead and do that. But just know that now, going on forward, it's going to be the Theva, the Vestia, Aria, up to Canta, Sopra, and so forth. So I'm going to leave it at that. So that concludes the unboxing and setup of the all-new Focal Theva No1s. So I hope you enjoyed Focal Day as much as I did. So other than the tricky little spike on the bottom, everything went as planned. These things are awesome. So what I'm going to do is take the Chora and the Vestia, move them out of the way, and set the Theva up in the right place and get them hooked up and playing. And I'm going to find a song to play the rest of the video out so at least everyone can hear what the Theva No1 sound like, fresh out of the box. Then I'm going to break these things in and come back and do an awesome three-way shootout, which I'm excited about because I'm super curious to hear the differences between the three once they're all broken in and doing their thing and singing like they should. So thanks a lot for sticking around, and until the next one, remember, it's Theva, not Theva.